For those of you that are concerned with hitting your chin spoiler or splitter on parking curbs or things like that, we have the solution for you here at Steeda. Stay tuned for the install video. Here we have the Steeda front camera parking kit fitting your 2015 to 2023 Mustang with Sync 2, Sync 3, or Sync 3.4. From 15 to 17, you'll see Sync 2. From 18 to 20, you will see Sync 3. And from 20 to 23, you'll see Sync 3.4. But there's no question that the S550 Mustangs, especially with certain trim packages like the Handling Pack Mach 1, have very low front splitters. And many of us who live in cities or areas that have high curbs to pull into parking lots and things like that, constantly scraping our front splitters. So that's where the Steeda front camera kit comes into play. It utilizes the factory steering wheel controls on your Sync 2 or 3 equipped vehicle. You have to have that 8-inch screen on the center cluster in order to be able to see the front camera. This kit includes everything you need for installation, from the wiring to the harnesses on your Sync equipped vehicle. There's labeling included on the wires themselves, which make installation super easy, and we're going to show you step by step on how to do it today. Here are the tools required to install the front parking camera kit on your Mustang. First, we'll disconnect the negative battery terminal. We're going to first route this wire from the interior to the engine bay. Then we'll connect to the camera itself. Next to the brake booster, there should be a rubber grommet that you can pull out. And then you can make a hole large enough for the wire to pass through. On the interior, you can see the sound deadening that can be peeled back to reveal the opening. Once you get the grommet back into place, pull the wire through, and we'll be back to this in a minute. We'll need to remove the air box to properly run the wiring away from the exhaust. Next, you can disconnect the mass airflow sensor and pull the wiring away from the air box. Then loosen the clamp holding the filter and remove it. There are 4 bolts holding the air box in place that need to be removed. Now we can drop the wire from the interior down past the frame rail and onto the belly pan. This kit came with 2 screws for you to mount to your front bumper, but we just opted to use double-sided tape. Place it in the middle, right above the lower grille. Moving underneath, remove the bolts and the 1 plastic clip holding the belly pan. We can fish the wire from the camera itself and connect it to the wire we dropped down in the engine bay. Back up top, we pull the slack out of the wire. We'll be running along the frame rail underneath the air box on the other side of the wiring harness. As you can see here, just to make sure it's away from the engine side and secure it into place before reinstalling the intake. Reverse the disassembly process on the intake. Make sure the mass airflow sensor is plugged in. And now you can move to the interior of the car. On the passenger side of the interior, there's a small panel that needs to be removed. A panel removal tool does the trick. Then the main trim piece on the dash is able to be carefully removed. Be mindful of the connector for the gauges if your vehicle is equipped with them. It's going to be a bit easier with the shifter out of the way, so you can power on the car to move the shifter back. Pull out the small rubber tray, and then this plastic panel needs to be removed to reveal 2 bolts. Then there are 4 bolts holding the plastic shroud. Be careful not to let these lower bolts fall into the space below. And now we can pull this plastic surround off. Start from the top and work your way down. And then pull up from the bottom. Go ahead and disconnect these connectors along the bottom. A small screwdriver or pick will help a lot here. With that out of the way, we can remove the 4 bolts holding the 8-inch screen in place. Now for the wiring. We need to power the front camera, so we'll cut the red and black wires short. On the pass-through harness, there's a DC plug that we can cut off, and then splice those 2 wires together. The yellow video cable from the wire ran through the firewall will connect to the red RCA cable on the harness. And that's actually it as far as wiring goes. Everything else in the kit is used for vehicles without reverse cameras at all, so we'll tie up the loose connectors. Then remove this panel on the driver's side by pulling away from the center console and removing the 2 bolts. And then we'll run that entire harness behind the radio through here. In order to reach down there and pull the harness through, we'll need to disconnect the 8-inch display and set it aside. As well as unbolting the CD player if equipped. We won't need to disconnect anything from here, just pull it back to get more room, and you should be able to reach down and find the pass-through harness. Go ahead and pull it all the way through. Then the CD player and display can be reconnected. For the display, leave the largest connector unplugged and install the pass-through in between that connection, and then lock it into place. In order to test, we need to reconnect the start button. You might run into a blank screen. Don't worry, that means we need to configure the front camera module properly. In that module, you'll see a series of dim switches that need to be set correctly based on if your vehicle has a factory reverse camera. This is the correct setting for a vehicle with a factory reverse camera. Reassemble the module by pressing the housing together. Make sure the connectors are facing the right way. And now we can reconnect the harness to the display. And now when you power on the vehicle, everything should be functioning correctly. Hold down the OK button on the steering wheel to activate the camera. And to get out of the camera, just tap the OK button to exit. Once you've verified functionality, secure the loose wiring and get it into place behind the display. Get all the bolts back into place, 4 for the CD player, 4 for the display, and 4 for the surround. Feel free to test the functionality as you go to make sure no connections came undone. Get the plastic surround bolted down, the dash into place, and your installation's complete. You can see it in use here, pulling up to a parking spot, holding the OK button, and pulling up into place. To exit, just tap the OK button. Obviously, with these handling pack Mach 1s, they have some of the lowest splitters of any S550 Mustang. That's why we have the front camera kit to fix that issue. Goes right into sync 2 or sync 3. Use the OK button on the steering wheel. Take your time with the installation. It is a little tedious with the wiring, but after you're all said and done, it's not too shabby. So comment below and let us know what else you want to see for these S550 Mustangs. Hit that like, subscribe, that notification bell, and don't forget the most important thing, speed matters.